22 cartoon moments, 7 levels. From one of the most hated finales to one of the most debated reboots, cartoons have stirred up far stranger controversies than anyone ever expected. And this is the ultimate iceberg of all those moments. We'll start with some shallow incidents, but the deeper we go, the darker it gets. Let's start at the tip of the iceberg. Level 1. Ben 10's Big Style Switch. Cartoon Network's original Ben 10 series from 2005 had everything fans loved: an interesting young hero, cool aliens, and storylines that grew more serious as the seasons went on. That's why when Ben 10 Reboot launched in 2016, it split the fan base almost right away. Instead of continuing from Omniverse or Ultimate Alien, the reboot went back to a younger cartoonish Ben with a lighter tone and shorter episodes. On the surface, it was colorful, fast-paced, and fun for kids, but longtime fans who grew up with the older shows felt like something important was missing. The biggest change was in the tone. The reboot leaned heavily on slapstick comedy, quick gags, and simple plots rather than the emotional arcs and the action-packed storytelling of the classic era. Even the aliens, which were once given strong backstories and unique abilities, were redesigned into cuter, rounder, and less intimidating versions. For example, Forearms went from a muscular powerhouse to a bulky but cartoonish brawler, and Heat Blast, once sharp and fiery, looked more like a toy than a living alien. Transformations themselves also lost the cinematic edge. In the original, every alien had a unique, dramatic sequence with different angles and details, while the reboot used the same quick flash animation every time. The shifts in storytelling were just as noticeable. In the original shows, Ben grew as a character, struggling with power, responsibility, and conflicts with rivals like Kevin or villains like Vilgax. In the reboot, those arcs disappeared and were replaced with lighthearted, one-off adventures where problems were neatly wrapped up in 10 minutes. The reboot also ruined the villains. Instead of being threatening, many became exaggerated or even comical, and that stripped away the darker edge that gave weight to earlier battles. Still, the reboot had some positives. It introduced fresh transformations like Gax and Shock Rock, gave Ben new gadgets, and kept the franchise alive with toys, specials, and crossover movies. But for older fans, these updates couldn't fully replace the depth, drama, and sense of growth that once defined the series. That's why the reboot still remains a hit for some and a miss for many. Level 2. The Bluey Exercise Edit. Even the happiest kids show can get people talking, and Bluey's episode Exercise is a perfect example of that. Bluey is an Australian show about a playful blue heeler puppy and her family. Although the show is meant for preschoolers, it's loved by all. In this episode, Bandit tries to get a morning workout in, timing himself and preparing his weights, but Bluey and Bingo turn him into a part of their play. Poor Bandit ends up acting as a mat, a spinning chair, and even a human ride, lifting and swinging the girls while they play in their fun park. After all the chaos, Bandit finally gets a break, and the episode closes with a doctor scene where he's praised for being fit. The plot was great, the jokes landed well, and the ending was solid. But the controversy came from one scene at the very start. Bandit steps on a scale, comments on his weight while pinching his belly fat, and talks about needing to exercise. Chili does the same. While it was meant to set the tone, some parents and experts worried that seeing adults unhappy with their bodies could send the wrong message to kids and make them feel bad about their own bodies. Even though it was just a quick scene, people said it might unintentionally encourage body shaming or negative thoughts about weight. However, some believed it was just highlighting the importance of maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Some even pointed out the cultural differences. What's considered rude in America can be taken more matter-of-factly in Australia. Still, ABC and Ludo Studios agreed the complaints made sense and decided to cut the scene. The episode was re-released without it so kids could enjoy the story while families handle their own conversations about body image. Many parents and health experts appreciated the creator's thoughtful response, pointing out how a small change can make such a big difference. Derpy redubbed. My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic: The Last Roundup. In the bright world of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, one little gray Pegasus ended up stealing the spotlight and causing a surprisingly big fuss. Derpy Hooves started out as a background character with crossed eyes and a clumsy way about her. Fans immediately noticed her quirky look and affectionately nicknamed her Derpy. What was just a funny animation mistake quickly became a defining trait, and many viewers loved her for being goofy, relatable, and a little imperfect. The real storm began in Season 2, Episode 14, The Last Roundup. Derpy got her first speaking role, and Rainbow Dash even called her by name. She still had crossed eyes and a clumsy personality, which some fans loved as a fun nod to the community. But some viewers and advocacy groups felt it was offensive. They argued that showing a character with obvious differences and calling her clumsy could come across as making fun of people with disabilities. Moreover, the name Derpy is actually used to mock disabled people, so adding a cartoon character with the name wasn't really a good move. Suddenly, a cute background pony had sparked debates about how kids' shows represented differences in diversity. To deal with the complaints, Hasbro and the creators made changes. They adjusted Derpy's voice, straightened her eyes in some scenes, and removed her name from dialogue. This, in turn, caused more debate. Some fans thought the edits were unnecessary and ruined the charm that had made her so special. Even with all the controversy, Derpy stayed a fan favorite. She appeared in comics, alternate universes, and even had heroic moments in the series. Gravity Falls versus The Notes, Disney Standards Calls. Gravity Falls was never just another kids' cartoon. It was a show filled with mysteries, hidden codes, and unexpected emotional depth. But behind the quirky adventures of twins Dipper and Mabel Pines, there was another story playing out off-screen, a battle over representation. At the center of the controversy was Disney's long and often uneasy relationship with LGBTQ+ characters in children's media. Creator Alex Hirsch, who constantly wanted more inclusive storytelling, ran into repeated roadblocks from Disney's Standards and Practices department. Notes from censors revealed how even the simplest jokes or character interactions were flagged if they hinted at queerness. While Alex managed to slip in subtext and coded messages, most of his ideas involving openly LGBTQ+ characters were shut down during production. The most famous example came with Sheriff Blubbs and Deputy Durlin, two recurring characters whose goofy partnership eventually ended with them openly declaring their love for each other in the series finale. Fans celebrated this as the first explicit gay couple in a Disney TV cartoon, but it sparked heated debate because of how last-minute and safe the reveal felt. Critics argued that Disney wanted to claim credit for progressive storytelling without actually supporting it during the show's run. Alex Hirsch himself confirmed this tension in later interviews and described how frustrating it was to fight for representation while the company resisted anything it deemed too risky for children. Disney later fanned the flames of the conflict when it promoted Gravity Falls as part of its LGBTQ+ content on Disney+, using the very material it once censored as proof of its inclusivity. For many viewers, the controversy was about more than just one couple. It was about corporate hypocrisy, the slow pace of change, and the way queer identities were often treated as a marketing tool rather than a natural part of storytelling. And if weird cartoon controversies like these are your guilty pleasure, you've found the right place. So before we move on, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. Level 3. Korrasami Walks In, The Legend of Korra Finale. The Legend of Korra, a sequel to Avatar: The Last Airbender, followed Korra's journey as the new Avatar, balancing both worldly conflicts and personal struggles. And before the Loud House, it was actually Korra that pushed boundaries in a different way. Both are Nickelodeon creations, and both did a phenomenal job at inclusivity. In the finale of the series, Korra and Asami are quietly confirmed as a couple. That final handhold flipped TV norms overnight. To many fans, Korra and Asami, aka Korrasami, felt effortless because it didn't rely on dramatic confessions or destiny. Instead, their bond grew over 4 seasons. First, they were friends and found comfort in each other. Korra only realized how much Asami meant to her after tough times, and Asami quietly supported Korra through everything. They built a relationship on mutual care, not fireworks and loud gestures. That slow burn made their final moment feel earned, not sudden. Sure, some viewers initially thought the ending came out of nowhere, but most agreed the groundwork was there if you looked for it. All those scenes of them working side by side, trading letters, and lending emotional support finally made sense. With Korra struggling in rehab and Asami always checking in, the connection felt genuine, not a romance forced in just for shock value. Again, Nick treated this as a normal and simple part of the story rather than a big statement. And 2 bisexual women being treated like any other lead characters in a children's adventure show was utterly groundbreaking. That said, the reaction was mixed. Some fans loved how natural and grounded their relationship was, just a real connection slowly building without pointless, flashy drama. Others wished for more explicit moments earlier on and felt the reveal was too soft or too late. But even that debate reinforced how rare queer stories were in kids' media at the time. All in all, The Legend of Korra may not have completely changed the game, but it set the stage for future shows to normalize queer relationships. As for Korra and Asami, it was about more than just representation. It showed what respect and understanding can look like in any healthy relationship, whether romantic or not. The Owl House brand fit. When a cartoon about witches and magic can stir up debates bigger than some blockbusters, you know it left a mark. The Owl House, created by Dana Terrace, tells the story of Luz Noceda, a Dominican-American teen who finds herself in a strange, magical world. She trains under a rebellious witch and slowly builds a life among outsiders. But what really made the show stand out was its open and heartfelt queer representation. Luz's relationship with Amity Blight wasn't just hinted at, it was central and celebrated. For many fans, this made The Owl House Disney's most important queer kids show. And that's why the show's sudden cancellation shocked viewers. Disney explained the decision by saying the show didn't fit their brand. They claimed it appealed more to older kids and relied on a story that continued across episodes, which made it harder to rerun. Dana Terrace herself confirmed that queerness was not the direct cause. Still, many fans didn't buy it. Disney has a long, complicated history with LGBTQ+ themes, and some saw the bad fit explanation as code. International censorship of the show, where episodes were heavily edited or skipped in countries across Central and Eastern Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, only added to those suspicions. Fans argued that if Disney really stood behind it, they could have moved it to Disney Plus instead of cutting the story short with 3 final specials. Others believed that money and timing played a bigger role. The show aired during the pandemic, when Disney was making sharp budget cuts and pushing safer, more repeatable shows. That explanation makes sense, but it doesn't erase the frustration. Regardless, the Owl House built a legacy that no cancellation can erase. It proved that queer-led stories in kids' animation can be magical, funny, and deeply moving. The Fallen Love, Voltron Legendary Defender, Shiro/Adam Backlash. Queer characters in cartoons have caused more controversy than the actual villains or violent scenes. Another example of that is the story arc of Shiro from Voltron Legendary Defender. The show follows a team of young pilots who control giant robot lions that combine to form Voltron, the universe's ultimate defender. Shiro was the team's leader and was confirmed to be gay by co-showrunner Lauren Montgomery. His past relationship with Adam was part of the character's backstory from the very beginning. Adam was intended to give viewers a glimpse into Shiro's personal life and show him as a fully realized queer character. But when Adam finally appeared in Season 7, it was just a quick appearance before he died heroically defending the planet. This sudden off-screen death frustrated many fans who had hoped for a meaningful romantic storyline. The situation led to accusations of queerbaiting and reinforced the "bury your gays" trope. Executive producer Joaquim Dos Santos later apologized, explaining that Adam's role was intended to add depth to Shiro's character, not just to provide a love interest. Critics also pointed out that Shiro's eventual marriage to Curtis in Season 8 felt shallow and tokenistic. Though many still celebrated Shiro as a rare example of a positive lead gay character in mainstream animation. The mixed feelings were reflected thoroughly in Reddit reactions. Some fans loved seeing a gay hero in a high-profile animated series, while others felt disappointed that Shiro's relationships were underdeveloped. Many even argued that Adam's death and the limited focus on queer romance sent a discouraging message to LGBTQ+ viewers seeking representation. Nightshade Speaks. Transformers Earthspark Non-Binary Debate. Transformers Earthspark follows a new generation of Autobots defending Earth, and Nightshade, the first non-binary character of the series, quickly became a standout for their honesty, courage, and joy. Using they-them pronouns, Nightshade discovers the word non-binary and calls it a wonderful word for a wonderful experience.
I know I'm safe when I'm with my friends or other non-binary people.
Non-binary?
People who aren't female or male.
I always knew my pronouns felt right, but what a wonderful word for a wonderful experience.
This gave fans a rare, uplifting moment of queer representation in a major action series. Not everyone was on board. Conservative voices like Libs of TikTok, Megyn Kelly, and Laura Ingraham criticized the scene, with Kelly calling it disgusting. The controversy didn't just stop there. International versions caused their own issues. The Japanese dub used the masculine pronoun boku for Nightshade. That sparked complaints about misgendering and highlighted the difficulties of translating gender across languages. In the UK, the BBC cut the word non-binary entirely in an iPlayer edit, erasing a key line mid-sentence, which frustrated fans who saw it as removing a moment of inclusion. Fans online had mixed reactions. Many celebrated Nightshade for being brave, smart, and funny, saying the creator brought life and personality to a franchise known for robot battles. Others were skeptical and argued that robots don't need pronouns or that the edits watered down the story. Bubbling becomes canon. Adventure Time, PB and Marceline censorship. Adventure Time follows the adventures of Finn, Jake, and the colorful residents of the land of Ooh, including Princess Bubblegum and Marceline, the Vampire Queen. Over the years, fans speculated about the true nature of their relationship, with subtle hints in episodes like What Was Missing, where Marceline's song, I'm Just Your Problem, suggested a deeper connection. This speculation grew over time, and fans pieced together all the moments like holding hands in 17 or references in Broke His Crown as signs that Bubblegum and Marceline were more than friends. The speculation was confirmed in the series finale, Come Along With Me, where Marceline checks on Princess Bubblegum after a battle, leading to a brief but meaningful kiss. Executive producer Adam Muto revealed that this romantic connection wasn't part of the original pitch, but evolved naturally over the series. Fans celebrated the moment as a landmark for LGBTQ+ representation in children's media, praising the show for giving these characters a fully realized relationship rather than just token gestures. However, the reveal didn't come without controversy. In some countries, including Saudi Arabia and Russia, the kiss was cut entirely due to cultural sensitivities surrounding same-sex relationships. Adventure Time also faced broader censorship in other regions, with certain scenes edited for content deemed too violent, frightening, or suggestive. For example, moments like Marceline spitting on Bubblegum's shirt in What Was Missing were censored in the UK for being too crude. Despite these edits, DVD and Blu-ray releases often restored the original content, allowing fans to see the creator's intent. Even after the finale, fan discussions remained mixed. Many celebrated Marceline and Bubblegum as a rare, well-developed queer couple in kids' animation, while some debated aspects of their dynamic, especially in Obsidian, where Marceline's portrayal highlighted flaws in the relationship. Well, heaven forbid we have relationships with flaws. Still, the overall response shows that Adventure Time managed to handle LGBTQ+ storytelling with subtlety, depth, and heart. Level 4. Apu and Representation, The Simpsons. For millions of viewers, Apu Nahasapima Pedalon seemed like harmless comic relief, a cheerful Quickie Mart owner with a funny accent. But for an entire generation of South Asians in America, he became a punchline that followed them through classrooms, workplaces, and daily life. The Simpsons, the longest-running animated sitcom in history, introduced Apu in 1990. He was voiced by a white actor, Hank Azaria. The character spoke in an exaggerated Indian accent, ran the stereotypical convenience store, and represented a bundle of cliches. For years, Apu was one of the only Indian characters on US TV. Yet rather than representation, he reinforced a mocking identity. That all changed when comedian Hari Kondabolu released The Problem with Apu in 2017. It argued that Apu's continued existence was harmful, saying the character was simply racism wrapped in comedy. Hari interviewed South Asian performers Aziz Ansari, Kal Penn, Hassan Minhaj, and Whoopi Goldberg, who shared how they were mocked or typecast because of Apu. Magazines framed Apu as soft racism, a subtle yet impactful cliche hiding in plain sight that many saw as hurtful. The BBC specifically added that the character seemed playful but normalized harmful tropes and became a default reference point. At first, The Simpsons responded with a dismissive episode that featured Lisa making a witty remark, "Something that started decades ago and was applauded is now politically incorrect."
Something that started decades ago and was applauded and inoffensive is now politically incorrect.
The response was widely criticized as tone-deaf. But as the criticism continued, the voice actor Hank acknowledged the harm. He said he stepped away after engaging with Indian American colleagues, attending seminars, and listening to those affected. By 2020, Hank officially announced he would no longer voice Apu, and that marked a hard shift in how the show approached representation of diversity. Viewers mostly agreed with Hari Kondabolu's documentary and knew it wasn't about canceling Apu, but about enriching the character's complexity. Some even argued that removing him meant removing visibility and totally missed the point. People wanted thoughtful change, not erasure. Jinx's Makeover, Pokemon Recolor. When people think of Pokemon, they usually think of fun adventures, battles, and cute creatures, mostly Pikachu. But the character Jinx caused a controversy that showed that even cartoons can carry hidden problems. Jinx's first appearance in the original Pokemon games and show, with long blonde hair, a red dress, and ice powers. At first, kids just saw her as another strange Pokemon. But adults noted something disturbing. Her black skin and large lips looked very similar to racist caricatures used in blackface performances and old cartoons that mocked black people. In 1999, author and critic Carol Boston Weatherford called out Jinx, saying she reminded her of the offensive Little Black Sambo and other harmful stereotypes. The criticism spread quickly, and Pokemon had to do something. So, in the Western versions of the game, Jinx's skin was changed from black to purple. The anime also removed or edited episodes where Jinx appeared, including Holiday Hijinks, which has never been shown again in the US. Even trading cards and manga were updated to show the new purple design. The controversy may have ended with the color change, but debates about Jinx's origin have been going on ever since. Some people in Japan argued she was not based on racist images at all, but on fashion trends like ganguro, where girls tanned their skin dark, dyed their hair blonde, and wore heavy makeup. Others think she may come from folklore, like the Snow Witch Yama-Ubu, or Norse mythology, like the half-dark goddess Hel. But while these explanations exist, they didn't erase the way Jinx looked to Western audiences. Mr. Popo turns blue, Dragon Ball Z Kai recolor. Jinx was not the only one who went through a color change due to online rage. Dragon Ball's Mr. Popo faced the same fate as well. Mr. Popo is the loyal attendant of Earth's guardian. With his jet black skin, bright red lips, turban, and genie-like outfit, he was introduced as a wise and kind protector. But over time, many viewers began to see a design that resembled blackface caricatures from racist history. Akira Toriyama may have intended him as a mystical figure inspired by Hindu and Buddhist imagery, but in Western contexts, Mr. Popo's design quickly became controversial. He was described as stereotypical rather than a respectful homage. The character itself was gentle and supportive, but the problem was how his appearance carried echoes of racial subjugation. By the 2000s, the backlash led to censorship and redesigns. In Viz Media's English manga, his lips were redrawn less prominently. In Dragon Ball Z Kai, his entire skin tone was changed to blue. Some saw the change as an attempt to move past a damaging belief, while others felt confused as to why such an iconic design had to be altered so abruptly. Viewers who grew up with the original were startled to see the blue Popo without explanation. In the end, Popo and Jinx remind us that even when created with harmless intentions, people can still see painful history in them. Level 5. Invader Zim's dark tone. Parents said too bleak. Cartoons are usually known for fun adventures and silly laughs, but sometimes a show dares to go into darker, stranger places not meant for kids. One of the most famous examples is Invader Zim, a Nickelodeon series about a clumsy alien trying to take over Earth while a human boy named Dib tries to stop him. The show stood out because it was gross, funny, and filled with a kind of humor that felt more like Halloween than Saturday morning cartoons. The most talked about episode is Dark Harvest. In it, Zim decides he needs more human parts to fool the school nurse, so he sneaks around school collecting organs from classmates. Of course, in true Zim fashion, he replaces them with random objects like a radiator, a can of soda, or even a mooing cow toy. By the end, Zim has stuffed so many pieces inside himself that he becomes a giant waddling blob of organs. The joke was about how desperate Zim was to fit in, but it felt bizarre, especially for a channel known for light-hearted shows like Rugrats and SpongeBob. Parents and even older kids were surprised Nickelodeon allowed it to air. Some thought the dark humor went too far, while others loved how outrageous and creative it was, yours truly included. Over time, fans have come to see Dark Harvest as one of the boldest episodes in cartoon history, feeling more like a horror thriller than a silly tune. But the controversy wasn't the only problem. Between its high production costs, subversive humor, and complaints about its darker tone, Nickelodeon eventually canceled Invader Zim after less than 2 seasons. Despite this, the show became a cult classic and a much-cited example of creepy creativity. Scientology trapped. South Park trapped in the closet. South Park has always been fearless, but when it turned its attention to Scientology, it created one of the most controversial moments in TV history. The show is known for mocking politics, celebrities, and religion with brutal honesty, and in 2005, it went further than ever in the episode Trapped in the Closet. The story begins with Stan being told by the Church of Scientology that he is the reincarnation of its founder, L. Ron Hubbard. From there, the writers lean into full-blown satire. Tom Cruise visits Stan, who doesn't compliment his acting, so Cruise gets upset and locks himself inside Stan's bedroom closet. Other characters and even John Travolta join him in the closet, while the townspeople keep shouting, "Tom Cruise, come out of the closet!" This was a play on the real-world rumors about Tom's sexuality, so the closet joke worked on a couple levels. But the sharpest blow came when the episode laid out Scientology's secret origin story of Xenu, flashing the on-screen text, "This is what Scientologists actually believe." That mix of childish humor and direct exposure of the religion's teachings pushed the episode beyond parody into outright attack. The fallout was almost immediate. Isaac Hayes, who voiced the beloved chef and was himself a Scientologist, quit the show soon after. Later, his son said that Isaac had suffered a stroke and may not have made the choice himself, which made the situation even more confusing. Things got stranger in 2006 when a rerun of the episode was suddenly canceled. People started saying Tom Cruise, one of Scientology's most famous members, had pressured the network. The rumor was that he threatened not to promote Mission Impossible 3 unless the episode was pulled, since the film and the show were linked to the same company. Tom denied this, but the story spread fast. The creators of South Park, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, hit back with a bold statement that ended with, "Curses and drat, you have obstructed us for now, but your feeble bid to save humanity will fail. Hail Xenu!" Some reports even claimed that as payback, the church looked into Trey and Matt's personal lives. Fans were shocked, but also impressed. Many thought it was brave of South Park to make fun of a powerful religion and a huge star despite all that could go wrong. Some couldn't believe the episode actually made it on air. Over time, Trapped in the Closet became a legendary example of how comedy can change celebrity power, corporate influence, and controversial beliefs and somehow still manage to win. I wonder if South Park will ever challenge another prominent figurehead of a powerful organization ever again. I'm sure that'll never happen. Relax, guy! Santa Under Siege. Family Guy's Road to the North Pole. The holiday season is always full of feel-good cartoon episodes and movie screenings. However, in 2010, Family Guy turned Christmas into a nightmare. In the episode Road to the North Pole, the show sent Stewie and Brian on a journey to the North Pole to find the real Santa, after Stewie is disappointed with a mall Santa. What they discover there is far from festive. Santa is exhausted, the elves are collapsing from overwork, and the reindeer have turned dangerously feral. The music number Christmas is Killing Us makes it clear. The endless demands of Christmas are physically and mentally breaking everyone at the workshop. The episode blends humor with dark satire and reveals the hidden toll behind the holiday cheer. Family Guy is already known for shocking content, from the Terry Schiavo satire to frequent depictions of violence, and this episode just reinforced that edge. Some viewers thought it went too far and portrayed good old Santa in gruesome conditions, while others praised the clever social commentary. The plot may have divided the fans, but everyone loved the music Christmas is Killing Us. In fact, it became one of the show's standout songs. Critics agreed it balanced outrageous comedy with surprisingly emotional storytelling. With over 8 million viewers, it topped the ratings, beat The Simpsons and American Dad, and earned Emmy and Grammy nominations, winning Outstanding Sound Mixing. In the end, Stewie and Brian failed to save Christmas, yet the world learns a lesson about greed, and Santa's team recovers the next year. When The Simpsons met Family Guy, joke backlash. Crossovers between two iconic cartoons are always exciting, and in 2014, Family Guy and The Simpsons came together in a highly anticipated episode called The Simpsons Guy. The show follows the Griffin family, who end up in Springfield after their car is stolen. They stay with The Simpsons, and the stay is as chaotic as you'd expect from the two families. There are all sorts of interactions, playful competitions, silly misunderstandings, and quite offensive jokes. Fans were eager to see how these two worlds would collide, as the episode promised laughs, surprises, and chaotic fun. However, the crossover became controversial due to one scene where Stewie makes a very inappropriate remark about a serious topic.
Hello, Mo? Your sister's being...
Although it was intended to be an exaggerated joke in Family Guy's usual style, it drew immediate criticism. Some viewers, including parents and advocacy groups, felt the joke was too strong and made light of a sensitive issue. Others argued it was meant to show the absurdity of humor that crosses boundaries. Despite the backlash, the network Fox did not make any edits or issue a formal response, and the episode aired as planned. Regardless of all the drama, The Simpsons Guy drew a large audience and remains one of the most talked about crossovers in cartoon history. Level 6. Mind Pollution. Captain Planet on-screen overdose. When we talk about Captain Planet and the Planeteers, we usually think of bright colors, catchy music, and a team of kids saving the planet from polluters. But this one episode showed the most unexpected pollution in the most brutally straightforward way. Mind Pollution opened the show's second season in 1991, and instead of oil spills and smokestacks, it was about temptations that hurt people from the inside. The story introduces a villain, Verminous Scum, who spreads a powdery substance called bliss. It looks harmless, even fun, but once eaten, it takes hold quickly. Boris, the cousin of Planeteer Linka, is the first one to try it. Soon, he can't stop, and in his desperation, he shares some with Linka, drawing her into the same trap. Her struggles show how even a hero can lose her way when judgment is clouded. The darkest moment comes when Boris is unable to hold back the desire and meets a tragic end. For many young viewers, this was the first time a cartoon showed a character facing such a real and lasting consequence. In the end, Linka pulls through with the help of her friends, and Captain Planet makes sure Scum is trapped by the very mess he made himself. When the episode aired, parents and teachers were startled. The lesson was great, but was it too much for children? This episode became one of the show's most talked about and darkest moments, remembered for teaching a life lesson with such blunt realism. Smoking icons. Flintstones, Winston cigarettes. The Flintstones may be known as a beloved cartoon, but back in the 1960s, it was originally a primetime show meant for families and adults. During its first 2 seasons, Winston Cigarettes was a primary sponsor. Fred and Barney appeared in live-action style ads during episodes, lighting up Winston cigarettes, repeating the slogan, "Winston's taste good like a cigarette should," and effectively acting as pitchmen for an adult product in a now child-friendly context. These ads were common for the time, when TV shows often had the characters themselves promote the sponsor's product. In one well-known spot, Fred and Barney sneak off for a smoke break while Wilma and Betty are stuck doing chores. The scene ends with them bragging about Winston's taste before they get caught. Winston's jingle also became very famous. From 1954 to 1972, the line, "Winston's taste good like a cigarette should," showed up everywhere. It even caused some arguments. Now, you might think it was about the outright advertisement of tobacco, but no, it wasn't that. It was about grammar. Critics said the line should have been "as a cigarette should" instead of "like." Not only that, but news anchor Walter Cronkite even refused to say it the way the ad did and chose to fix the grammar on air. By the time the Flintstones reached its 3rd season, the creators finally changed direction. With the birth of Pebbles, the show leaned more towards kids, and Winston was dropped in favor of family-friendly sponsors like Welch's Fruit Juice, with correct grammar. Ren and Stimpy's shock comedy, Grotesque Gags. The Ren and Stimpy Show, a Nickelodeon series about a borderline psychotic chihuahua and a clueless cat, quickly stood out in the 1990s for being anything but ordinary. One of its most shocking trademarks was the gross-up close-up, a sudden zoom into an overly detailed picture of something icky like rotting teeth, oozing wounds, slimy tongues, or yellow toenails. Instead of blurring out the ugly stuff, the artists exaggerated it, which turned quick gags into unforgettable images. The idea came from creator John Kricfalusi and his Spumco team. Storyboard artist Bob Camp even came up with the name Gross Up. It was meant as a rebellion against the clean, safe look of Saturday morning cartoons, and it worked. People couldn't stop talking about it. The close-ups shocked many parents who complained the show was too gross for kids, while some critics praised the bold style for breaking rules and pushing TV animation into new territory. The Washington Post at the time called it both hilarious and stomach-churning, while kids either laughed or covered their eyes. The aftermath was clear. Since the show had gained a reputation for going too far, Nickelodeon started keeping a closer watch on it to avoid any further controversies. Still, the gross-up style left its mark and inspired later shows like SpongeBob SquarePants and others to use the same trick for comedy. Level 7. Mighty Mouse sniffs, scene misread as use. It only took 3 seconds of animation to cause one of the wildest debates in cartoon history. Mighty Mouse: The New Adventures aired in 1987 and was a bold remake of the classic superhero mouse filled with wacky humor and fresh animation. But one short scene in the episode The Littlest Tramp set off one of the strangest TV controversies of the 1980s. In it, Mighty Mouse is shown sniffing a handful of crushed flower petals. To most viewers, it was harmless. To critics, and especially the conservative American Family Association, it looked like he was snorting a suspicious substance. The claim quickly made headlines, and CBS was forced to respond. Creator Ralph Bakshi strongly denied the idea, calling it ridiculous and saying the hero was only smelling flowers. To calm the uproar, the network cut the 3-second shot from later airings, but the damage was done. Groups demanded apologies, letters poured in, and even the Dallas City Council passed a resolution against the show. But Ralph didn't back down. He defended the show, saying it was unfairly attacked and warning that censorship was hurting creativity. CBS stood by him at first, but the show's reputation never fully recovered. After only 2 seasons, it was quietly canceled. Fans of the show were frustrated, feeling that one misunderstood gag ended something truly original. And now, looking back, the scandal is remembered less for what actually happened on screen and more for how a few seconds of animation turned into a full-blown national debate. The Guns Go Silent. Looney Tunes Cartoons 2020 Gun Removal. When HBO Max brought back Looney Tunes in 2020, fans expected the same wild chases, slapstick chaos, and explosive gags. What they didn't expect was a big change of 2 of the most iconic characters. Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam no longer had guns. Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom! In the new series Looney Tunes Cartoons, Elmer's classic hunting rifle and Sam's pistols were taken away. Instead, Elmer carried around odd replacements like a scythe while still trying and failing to catch Bugs Bunny. The creators explained that while guns were banned, all the cartoony violence like TNT, dynamite, and anvils dropping from the sky was still very much allowed. The idea was to keep the slapstick energy alive without showing firearms on screen. The reason for this choice wasn't spelled out directly, but it came at a time when conversations about gun violence, especially in schools, were being highlighted in the US. Many believed the decision reflected these modern concerns. Moreover, if Looney Tunes was going to be reintroduced to a new generation of kids, the creators wanted to update it in a way that felt less connected to real-world weapons while still keeping the over-the-top comedy. The move sparked plenty of mixed reactions. Some people praised it as a sensible step, while others thought it was unnecessary censorship. On online forums, fans pointed out the irony that Elmer swinging around a giant scythe seemed far darker than simply chasing bugs with a rifle. Eventually, the changes stopped sticking. Elmer was shown with his rifle again in Space Jam: A New Legacy. Courage Mask. Courage the Cowardly Dog, The Mask, mature themes. Sometimes the scariest thing a cartoon can do is tell the truth. Courage the Cowardly Dog surprised audiences in 2002 with the episode The Mask. At first glance, it seemed like another creepy tale. A masked cat named Kitty arrives at the Bagg farmhouse, declaring that dogs are untrustworthy and treating Courage with coldness. But as the story unfolds, the mask hides something deeper. Her best friend Bunny is stuck in an unhealthy relationship with a rough character named Mad Dog, and Kitty is desperate to save her. The episode's tone and themes would end up stirring controversy. Instead of relying on the usual supernatural scares, it openly dealt with mistreatment at home, control, and the hurt caused by toxic bonds. Many viewers also interpreted Kitty and Bunny's bond as more than friendship, which made the episode one of the earliest children's cartoons to include LGBTQ subtext. For its time, this was groundbreaking, but also unsettling to parents who felt it was too mature for young audiences. Creator John R. Dilworth even admitted he was surprised the network approved it. In the aftermath, The Mask was never pulled from the air, but it stood out as one of the most unsettling and emotionally heavy episodes in the series. Fans have praised it for its courage, calling it a masterpiece in disguise, while others argued it went too far for a cartoon aimed at kids. You might say they thought it was just a little bit naughty. That was it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. And since you've already made it this far, why don't you check out this iceberg about the cartoons that got banned for all the right reasons?